Okay, so we can get started. So just to be respectful of everybody's time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Gasca, and I'm the current external president for the Central Valley region or the Central California region. And I've been with MiMentor for the past 4 years. So I've been VP of Mentorship, internal president, and now external president. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time, so maybe we can do questions at the end. I'll try to go through the chat as I can and try to sort out the questions. But yeah, feel free to drop in your questions at any time. This is meant to be more of a conversation to answer your questions and doubts and kind of guide you through the process. But yeah, so let's get started. So we're gonna go over application requirements, and pretty much all of you should be good with it because probably most of you saw this post on MiMentor, but just in case we'll go through it and we'll have more time to for you to learn about each region and to learn more about each position. So MiMentor's mission is to provide supported innovative mentorship opportunities. That is why we do a lot of our Together We Mentors, because we want to provide inspiration and mentorship for our next generation of healthcare providers. We were funded by Latino physicians who realized that there was a lack of mentorship for underrepresented minorities. But no, because our name is in Spanish or we were funded by Latino physicians, our resources are limited for the Latino community. We are about creating an inclusive environment. So this would be requirements. Am I doing that one or are you doing this one, Lisa? I forgot.
I'm doing this one. Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes. My name is Marlisa Olea Gallardo. I am the internal president of Southern California. I have been with MiMentor for 5 years now, and it has really been an incredible journey. So if you're not a part of General Board, I really encourage you to challenge yourself. Some of the application requirements, pretty basic. You have to have a complete profile on our website, which includes your photo, a biography, and your introduction completed. The time commitment, depending on your position, and also kind of what season of MiMentor we're in, right? Are we close to the beginning of the scholastic year? Are we closer to December? It varies, but from 8 to 16 hours per week, starting this year in May, going all the way until June of 2022. You're required to participate in weekly or biweekly meetings and conference calls. This includes general board meetings and some organization-wide meetings. We usually have one once a semester. Work as a team member and actively participate in meetings. This is really important. So we all have to be very aware of our bandwidth. If you don't have the bandwidth, maybe it's better to focus on the things that are highest priority in your life, but you are expected to show up and do your part with the organization. You have to demonstrate strong commitment to the growth and expansion of MiMentor. We're really lucky to have found the organization, but there's still people out there who have not, and there's still Latino pre-meds out there like me thinking that they're the only brown kid in an OChem class. And so it's really important for us to continue to expand in outreach. You have to be available for onboarding training, which starts in early May 2021. Have to attend our MiMentor Gala at the end of May, and it's going to be virtual this year, still pending next year if COVID allows. And the application also requires you to submit a CV or resume and a professional portrait.
Yeah, thank you, Marlisa. So it sounds like a lot of requirements, but it's not. And as you go through the application, it will seem pretty simple. We do definitely encourage you all to kind of take the time to look over the questions and think your responses. But this is pretty much the overall timeline. So the application opened this Monday. The deadline is March 29th. And then we'll have a week or two to go over review the applications. And this is regional. So each current presidents of Southern California, Central and Northern and Georgia will look over the applications and they will conduct interviews. and between April 5th to the 23rd, and then decisions will be made and sent on April 26th. And then the training will begin, at least for general board, training will begin on June 14th. Because I know the previous requirement, that was a typo on my end. The May beginning is for executive board. General board will start training on June 14th, and that's when we have like our big general meeting that we also call retreats. There it is. Okay, so then we can start talking about more about our specific boards so you can learn more about them. So we have, like I mentioned, we have 4 boards, 3 in California, Northern, Central, and Southern California, and we have 1 in Georgia. So our next board, we have our presidents, Victoria and Cristina present, that they can share more about the Northern California team.
Hi, everyone. I'll start us all off. So my name is Cristina, and I am the internal president for the NorCal region. And this region is rooted primarily in the Greater Bay Area and SAC regions, because that's typically where we have a lot of physicians and different mentors who are already familiar with the organization and who we can count on to help us with our events. But personally, being from Sonoma County, which is about an hour north of San Francisco, I have really experienced the impact of lack of mentorship in areas outside of the Greater Bay Area and Sacramento. And because of this, one of our goals for the NorCal region, and really our vision for the future, is definitely to expand the reach of MiMentor throughout NorCal. And we're really lucky this year to have board members from all over the region who are really key in helping us accomplish this goal. And in addition to that, we'd really like to do more outreach in community colleges. We've had the pleasure of connecting with American River College this year and doing a presentation for their STEM group, and building a stronger network of professional mentors. Victoria will talk a bit about our partnerships in a bit. We'd also like to diversify our events, and I'm really proud that our region has been able to offer workshops about optometry school, and we have a dental panel coming up, and dietetics programs. So that's been really great to see those events on MiMentor. And we definitely want to continue collaborating with our external organizations that have been supporting us, and connecting more with our other regions as well. So it's been great to work together over Zoom on a lot of these events.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I'm the external president for the Northern California region. I did just want to mention some of the different partnerships that we have. So we partner with the Kaiser Permanente Latinx Association, where we are in the works to have events to garner more mentors who currently work at Kaiser, to get more mentors on the MiMentor app. And then we also have a partnership with UC Davis School of Medicine's Office of Student and Resident Diversity. And they are one of our sponsors that help provide support and funding to our organization. I also wanted to mention that in our region, we have a lot of amazing CMOs who are chief mentoring officers who provide support for many of our events. So like Cristina mentioned, we have events in dietetics, we have MCAT related webinars. We really aim to have a lot of diverse content that we put out, and a lot of that is in part due to our amazing CMOs who are able to help guide us and provide insight as they are farther along in their professional careers. So we have CMOs who are medical students currently. We have a CMO who's a registered dietitian. We have CMOs who are pursuing masters in public health. And we also have one who is a nursing student. I also wanted to mention that we partner with different medical schools to provide mock MMIs for our MiMentor community. So we partnered with Stanford's medical students, along with students from UC Davis School of Medicine, as well as UCSF. So those are all just a brief overview of some of the goals that we have in our Northern California region.
Awesome. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Cristina. The next board will be my board, Central California, but I'm gonna let Alexa, internal president, talk a little bit about our board and our goals, and so you can learn more about it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexa Lopez. I'm the internal president for the Central Cal region. I've been with MiMentor for about 4 years now. The Central Cal region does expand. We're all everywhere in the Central Cal region, so we are trying to expand more to Bakersfield, to Riverdale, and just to other areas such as Merced and Madera. But this here is our general board. We have our VPs of mentorship, VPs of outreach, and our VP of engaging content, as well as our ambassadors. Yeah, Lisa, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I mean, just like every other region, we have those VPs. One of our biggest, I guess, one of the challenges that we have in the Central Valley is that we don't have a medical school per se. So a lot of the mentors that we get and a lot of the events that we obtain are from either already attendees or UC Davis, UCSF, and ATS osteopathic medicine students who are rotating in Visalia or rotating in UCSF Fresno. So we do one of our biggest projects is creating the MMIs. We try to keep our MMIs with a focus on assisting those in the Central Valley because, I mean, we are the Central Valley or the San Joaquin Valley has 8 counties and we don't have a medical school. And we're so big that it's kind of hard to provide like or find resources like Christina mentioned earlier. So a lot of the things or the events that we try to do have a big emphasis on trying to recruit people from the Central Valley who can relate to those in our area and also to inspire those in our area. So right now our biggest goal is to kind of grow to CSU Bakersfield and CSU Stanislaus so we can, because we already have established in Fresno State or CSU Fresno and Merced. So we want to establish throughout the universities in the Central Valley so we can have a bigger impact in the Central Valley. So our next board is Southern California.
All right, guys. Again, my name is Marlisa. I'm currently the internal president for Southern California. And below are some of the amazing VPs. We have the biggest team in Central California. MiMentor was founded out of Los Angeles. And so all the way from, the San Isidro, Tijuana border past LA, that's the range of where the students on Southern California's general board are from. Like everyone else said, we do maintain connections with organizations that are in our region. So Altamed, which is a federally qualified health center, we have a partnership with KP School of Medicine. A lot of our AIM board members, that's kind of the umbrella of physicians that oversees MiMentor. They're faculty and professors there. And so we have a connection with them and many others that honestly are too long to list. And similar to Victoria mentioning the mock MMIs, that's a very big focus for us because we want to bring the communities that we come from resources that typically only privileged persons would be able to obtain or pay for. And so we partner with our CMOs, which are their chief mentorship officers, usually they're medical school students, in order to provide these really great mock MMIs. So in the past, we worked with UCSD, UCI, UCLA, USC off the top of my head. This year we did AT Still. There's a lot of med schools in Southern California. So there's a lot of resources here, which are also available to other students, right? So our mentors are really good about being available to mentor even if you're not within their geographical location, which is a really nice thing about MiMentor, is that we really do act as a familia. We also have a community college initiative going down here, which my co-president Maria Venegas has spearheaded along with 2 of our ambassadors. And so you can see that there's different positions within each board. So there's 3 different types of VPs for each region, as well as ambassadors. And we'll go more into that a little bit later, but that's pretty much my recap for the region.
Thank you, Marlisa. Okay, so we're gonna go on to positions. Oh, hold on. We have our Georgia team. So we have Anna, so she can speak more on our new board in Georgia, it's like you'll have like the biggest opportunity to grow as leaders with Georgia. But do you want to share about your board?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So yes, my name is Ana Garcia. I'm currently the external president of Georgia, the Georgia chapter. So we just started this year we're still kind of a small board, but we are trying to focus on mentoring for right now, as COVID has made a little, things a little bit difficult on our side, as we cannot host a lot of workshops in person, and most of the people that we have asked, they have expressed interest, but once COVID-19 gets better in that situation. But so far, we are hoping to start creating pipelines with Emory University Medical School and Morehouse. So I hope that you guys have heard of those medical schools. And we're also focusing on creating, hopefully for next school year, a PA series to help Latinos in the field that are interested in pursuing physician assistant education. So we're trying to focus on that, and as well in nursing. So like I said, we're still kind of a small chapter, but we're trying to grow as time goes on.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, I think Central Valley is also a new region, so the newer, the smaller, but the more opportunity for like our future leaders to grow. So definitely, even though Georgia's still growing, you can definitely be part of helping the Georgia board grow and become more known throughout the state. So our next will be going over the positions, so you can kind of learn more about each person and like their responsibilities. I'm not entirely sure if Alberto's on the call. He made it to the call. I don't think he did. Okay, presidents, you can help me with this one, but I'll share what I know about VP of Engaging Content. So our VPs of Engaging Content, their main purpose or their main goal is to assist our Chief Technology Officer, who pretty much they're their own team, and they're the ones who handle everything about our social media platforms and the website on MiMentor, including the app. So everything you see, everything that happens in the app, everything that you see posted on social media, our VPs of Engaging Content do it. When we do like things like our gala, or when we get a new sponsor, somebody who donates for our nonprofit organization, our group of VP of Engaging Content are in charge of assisting with that, creating any promoting materials or any what's it called, like flyers regarding that. Am I missing something?
I also want to add that they have meetings of their own.
Yeah.
So in addition to attending the general board meetings, the VPs of Engaging Content, like Lee said, along with the Chief Technology Officer, have their own meetings because they're really tech savvy. So if you're tech savvy and you like social media and you like posting, this is a really good opportunity. They also come up with monthly themes or campaigns. So this month we have Black History Month, which has been phenomenal. And we've been highlighting Black heroes in American history and in science. So if you are into stuff like that, and if you're creative and you like digital design, it's a really good opportunity.
Definitely. I also know that they each get to pick like their own projects. So for example, our Central Valley VP of Engaging Content, she's been in charge of story writers. If any of you are kind of new with MiMentor, we've had in the past like a series of stories being posted where we were like feature the story of current medical students, aspiring medical students, physicians, dental students who they just want to share with everybody that their path was different to medicine or to their field of passion. So with the purpose of inspiring others. So Mirka, that's her name. She's the VP of Engaging Content in Central Valley. She chose to continue on that project that was started by Tim, one of our former MiMentor members who's now in medical school. So she kind of follow on to that. It's just kind of hard. It hasn't been as active because she hasn't been able to find, or not as there are not as many people now interested in sharing their story, or they're more hesitant to do that. So perhaps you haven't seen a lot of that, but if you type on the search bar story writers, you'll see a lot of that. There's another VP of engaging content who's in charge of finding the speakers for the Instagram takeovers that we have. And like Marlisa said, they have they have monthly meetings on their own besides the ones that each board has, because they have to come up with ways of engaging the community online, hence the name. Okay, so then the next one would be Taylor, our VP of Outreach and Recruitment.
Hi, everybody. My name is Taylor, and I'm from the NorCal region, and I'm the VP of Outreach and Recruitment. And outreach is really about engagement and recruitment, right? So we're really trying to disseminate what MiMentor is on a larger scale. And so VPs of outreach really managing and tabling events is a big focus on that. Recruitment of board members to participate at these tabling events, not only to share about what MiMentor is, but make connections with those who can possibly be funders and things like that, right? So we manage logistics, and usually, like if we were able to table at an event in person, right, there's sometimes materials that need to be paid for. So a lot of that is us filling out, budget proposals and requests, but also being support to our VPs of mentorship. So you don't have to just think of it as us outreaching to schools and institutions, right, to spread up the word about MiMentor, but also like helping out VPs do the TWMs. Like we can be involved in that. And that's what I've liked about the outreach. You can kind of, our time is 4 to 6 hours per week, but you can do even more if you really wanted to. You're not limited to just doing that. You can do so much more, and that's included in outreach. And so that's kind of like my thing. But why this position? Yeah, the workload and networking. So along with VPs of mentorship, which you're going to hear about, getting to know medical students and getting to know faculty at schools, like just connecting within MiMentor and on the website with other students has been really, really fun. I feel like I've met people from different schools just trying to talk about what MiMentor is, and that's kind of been like the best part of that. And then my most memorable experience. So far, I've had a lot of memorable experiences, but I think the one that was really cool, and it's kind of been on pause, but I got to work with AIM, one of the board members of AIM, and then also a few of our executive board members on starting a new regional chapter, like trying to start one in Washington, the state of Washington. Yeah. And that has been really cool because, there's other groups like Indigenous groups that are also not represented in medicine. And there's a lot of people in Washington who need to be represented in medicine. So that's been kind of like to see how MiMentor operates at like the top of our, program has been really cool to see, and how passionate other physicians are about getting all of us to where we need to be. And then doing TWLs, right? There was a recent one with the Black Lives Matter. That was really awesome. Putting out new platform on MiMentor, and then being part of the diversity and inclusion team. And then just having a really good support system from all of you. I've made so many friends, and just people to cry to if you're struggling, people to uplift you, all of that. So you just feel this momentum with you being part of this group. And that's why I've continued to want to be a part of MiMentor and plan to in the future if need be. Yeah, that's a little bit about outreach. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on the website or on GroupMe.
Thank you, Taylor. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Even if you were to mention, even if you were to do VP of engaging content, a VP of outreach, you will always have the opportunity to lead an event on your own if that's what you want. It's not like because you apply for one position, you're only limited to doing what that position entails. We are all big on supporting you to grow in your leadership skills. If you feel like you need more public speaking, we'll definitely allow you and help you to create an event where you can do that. I think VP of Outreach and Recruitment is the one that does the most public speaking because you have to go to the conferences or presenting to others. Something that at least we try to push our Central Valley team is that even though the VP of Outreach might be the person who finds the conference, that doesn't mean that that's the only person doing the talking. at the end of the day, we all have to kind of become familiar on how to like share about MiMentor. So we try to involve VPs of mentorship, ambassadors, VPs of engaging content as well in presenting, just so everybody gets the public speaking skills.
Right. I wanted to add something
Mhm.
too, which is like, wow, I just lost my thought as I'm saying this.
Oh.
Oh no. Okay, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. I'll come back to it if at the
Okay.
end it comes back to my
Oh.
mind, or I'll put it in the chat.
Sounds good. Thank you, Taylor. So our next one would be VP of Mentorship with Sohan.
Hey everybody, I'm Sohan Banerjee. I'm the Central California VP of Mentorship. I've been with MiMentor for about 2 years now. So I'll tell you a bit about this position. So first of all, VP of Mentorship is definitely the most, I think, abundant position in our boards. And partially because what we do is the groundwork of MiMentor. We're the ones who do those TWM events. And, at least to me, those are the heart of what MiMentor is. So I don't know the demographic of our attendees, but I assume some of you are ambassadors. I like to think of VP of Mentorship as like ambassadors, but with more freedom and with more leadership, I guess. So basically, your main role as a VP of Mentorship will be to lead / co-lead events. Officially on paper, you're required to do 2 a semester, but honestly, that's a really small number. Most of us end up doing a lot more than that. Because believe me, these events do take work. 2 is nothing for a whole semester. Often we have a lot of ideas and go through more. So the main difference between an ambassador and a VP of Mentorship in regard to leading and co-leading events is as a VP, you're going to be more of a leader on these. You're going to be taking lead, and that's a really good thing for me because that's your opportunity to present your ideas. So kind of going back to what Christina said before about diversifying, that's one thing that the VP of mentorships have a big part in. So for instance, me, I'm a big public health person, and I've been trying to do more events around public health. Or we have another currently ambassador who's trying to be a VP who's a pre-PA, and he's trying to do more PA related events. So it's things like that that make the VP of mentorship position so unique. You have this opportunity to start new things and be mentored. The second big role you'll have is to train the new members and ambassadors on the basics of a TWM event. I think every year we see new board members and new ambassadors, and it's our job to make sure they know what they're doing, they feel the support, because we don't want to throw them in and have them on their own. And as far as training goes, don't be stressed about it. It's not like you have to know everything. It's really more of a learning experience. Like yesterday I was training somebody, but in reality we were learning how to do Eventbrite together. But it's really good. It's just that support system, that you use your experience to help these new members out on what to do. The last thing is the VP of Outreach and Engaging Content, as we said before, can help us with doing events. But at the same time, it's a two-way street. VP of Mentorship should also be helping them out with outreach events. So that's a big part of what we do as well. I think for me, I do like 2 a semester maybe of outreach to both the schools that we're trying to reach as well as conferences. So really quickly, why I chose this position, again, it just gave me more of an opportunity to do what I did as an ambassador, but with more independence to start those new events. And then my most memorable experience was definitely, for those of you who were there, the TWM How to Be a Resilient Pre-Med with Jackie Leon, mainly because we do a lot of TWM events, and not all of them turn out how we want, and not all of them turn out to be these amazing, impactful events. But this one in particular was, because like by the end of those 2 hours, every attendee was saying how they feel so invigorated and they feel so ready and so much more prepared for their pre-health journey. And I think that's so powerful that in just 2 hours, they were able to not life-changing, but really career-growing experience in just those 2 hours. So that's what I love about this position, and that's why that experience stands out to me.
Thank you, Sohan. Yes, I started as a VP of mentorship. Well, back then I was like VP of educational pathways, but we did the same thing. I think one of the biggest reasons why this position, we have so many titles, but it's also the one that a lot of people want to apply for. It's because we think, well, as a VP of mentorship, you have a direct interaction with mentors. You are the person who decides, like, I want to do an event on how to be a resilient pre-med student. So that's your idea. Then the second part is like, okay, who do I want to be a speaker? And if you went to an event somewhere else and you got a contact person, you get to be like, you know what, I really like that person. And I think the MiMentor community will benefit from that person, from hearing that person's story. So then they reach out to that person, and that allows to create like a mentorship relationship. I met a lot of my mentors that way, by creating Together with Mentors. Even as a president, I've done Together with Mentors because I just really enjoy the process of doing them, and the process of like talking to people. Something that you also get from this position, and pretty much any position, is that you start talking to professionals. You might be emailing doctors and nurses and PAs. So you have to build that confidence in talking in a more professional way, I guess. Something that I also want to add to about this position, sometimes you might be pre-med, like I'm pre-med, a lot of us are pre-med on this, but we are a pre-health organization. MiMentor is pre-health. That doesn't mean just pre-med. It also includes pre-PA, pre-pharmacy, pre-optometry, whatever you can think of. So you might end up doing an event for a career path that you're not necessarily fully interested on, but it doesn't mean that you cannot learn something from there. I've done events for pre-PA and for pre-dental. And at that point I was like, oh, maybe I should switch to pre-dental because the speakers were so good. So I want you to be aware of that, because at some point you might be like, well, I'm pre-med and I'm just going to do pre-med events. We might ask you to do events outside of the field that you're interested in, but you will still gain leadership skills from that. But also if you are pre-PA, this is your moment to shine. Or if you're pre-dental, this is your moment to shine, because you are the person who knows more what it's needed for that position. Or if we don't have a lot of that, you will be the person who will help us grow in that section. So I wanted to talk about this position because I think Northern California, Central Valley, and perhaps Georgia will be more in charge of choosing this. It's VP of Pipeline Programs, and it's kind of like a branching. Maybe Marisa, you can help me with this one. It's a way of branching from that initiative that Maria did with community colleges, so we can be more involved and continue to also grow with community colleges and community college students, because I mean, their path is different as well. And we want to make sure that they also know that even though they decided to go the community college route, they can still make it a medical school or any health profession school that they want to go to. So the VP of Pipeline Programs emphasis or goal will be to help us make those connections. If I'm right with community colleges.
Yeah, so it's community colleges in addition to other pipeline programs. And so in the last month or two, we also did an Instagram Live with UCR, School of Medicine pipeline programs, organizations like MedPep, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So the role of this is really to cultivate and maintain strong relationships with those organizations that we can have MOUs with. And the reason that this position came to be is because a lot of this work was being done by external, internal presidents and other executive board members. And so it may have been taking time away from their primary duties. So now that MiMentor has expanded the way it has, we found that it would be beneficial to add this and kind of alleviate some of that stress from other executive board members who have other responsibilities, and also give the opportunity for someone who would be best suited for this to gain leadership skills and join our board. But yes, that's pretty much the gist of it, Liz.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for that, because I was not fully familiar with the position. So something that I'm seeing on the comments about training, yes, that's what we call our retreats. So let's say all of you get a position. So probably on June, we will create a training where we'll go over like every step that it takes to create an event, which will be Eventbrite, creating a Canva. Like our flyers, there's like a certain requirements and certain things that we can and we cannot include. So those will be covered during that training. But sometimes it's like a lot of information given at once. So that's why Sohan was talking about like helping or retraining members, because we try to at least at the beginning to pair those who are like have been VPs for a while or are familiar with the process with those who are new VPs, so they can kind of guide you through the process or help you on like any step that you're like, oh, I don't remember that. And some of those like Eventbrite seem intimidating at the beginning, but after a while, it just becomes like second nature. I still make mistakes until this day, and I've been doing Eventbrite for like a while. So I always have to ask somebody like, hey, can you please go back and like make sure that it's good? Or can you double check this? So it's always good to ask for help or ask a second pair of eyes to go over that. Something that I saw in the chat too is, yes, we actually collaborate across regions. So we're planning like an event for high school students, and one of the VPs from Northern California, for example, reach out to me and say, like, hey, can I help with that event? I'm like, yeah, of course. So that happens. With MiMentor, you get to be involved in so many different ways because we have different committees. So you get your own region, but then there's like the diversity and inclusion committee, the gala committee, the newsletter committee, and you can showcase all of your like skills that way. I think with maybe Taylor, I think you were involved with the one of the Together We Leads with the diversity and inclusion team. So that just adds more stuff for you to do in the sense, but it's stuff that you choose to do. It's out of your own choice, and you get to gain different knowledges and experiences in different areas. So, okay, so then it's now time for questions. Feel free to like unmute yourself if you want to. You can type the questions on the chat. We're happy to answer them. We have this survey, just please fill it out and give us any feedback. That's how we learn. That's how we know whether this type of workshops are actually helpful, so we can do them every year whenever our application opens. And yeah. So the application, it's already open. It's on, yeah, it was posted on MiMentor. So like we said, one of the requirements is that you have a profile on MiMentor. So if you do, you can literally just type in like general board application. So you will be applying for general board. You should be able to find it on the app, and it will literally mention the same things that we mentioned as before, like what's it called, the requirements, the timeline, and it will also give you a link to see the descriptions for each position. So yeah, and you get to apply to more than one. I think you are, yeah, I just know it's more than one. You can apply to several positions. I would suggest your first application should be like the position that you want the most, then second, the one that you're like okay with, because that's technically the way that it will be kind of considered. Does anyone have any other questions?
Hi, my name's Sandy.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, I guess, either position, how do you guys manage like your own personal time, like if you have work or class work with these positions, like your experience, you recommend it or not, you know?
Does anyone want, I can answer that, but I want somebody else to talk.
I can answer a little bit. Well, this is Anna. I'm from, well, like I said, I'm the external president from Georgia. So I guess I can share a little bit about like how, like in my team, it's a little bit more like different. So I have two VPs and 3 CMOs and 1 ambassador. So all of us are, you know, like we try to do our board meetings, and as an, you know, like the external president, I always try to communicate with them whenever they have time. For me, it's a little hard sometimes, you know, with your classes and work, but you always try to find like the perfect timing when it comes to like, maybe you can dedicate 1 hour, 2 hours per day, or you can always catch up with your VPs, or like if you cannot handle something, you can just talk to them. That's I think one of the particular reasons why I took this position is because I am a shy person and, you know, like English is my second language, and I always felt that, you know, communication or just kind of like public speaking itself, it's kind of like a hard task for me sometimes to overcome. And I think with a, you know, a family that will always have your back in the sense of like supporting you through the hard times and, you know, like easy times, and, you know, it's always beneficial and you get to learn so much. So I think having good time management skills, but also you get to learn some. So if you don't have those there yet, you get to learn something new. So it's always like you will take something out of this experience.
Yeah, you'll definitely develop the time management. Do you want to add anything, Melissa? I know you were getting ready to share something.
Yeah, so I currently work full time. I work 8:45 to 5:15 every day. And my job requires me to sometimes work on Saturdays. And so if something is important to you and if something is a priority, I think it's not about having the time, it's about making the time. And so for me, MiMentor is really important, right? So I make the time for it. Another organization may not be as important for me, but more practically, the hours that we require from you take into account that you are multifaceted in your life, right? So we all play several roles. We are children, we are siblings, we are workers, we are students, we're doing postbacks, we are undergrads, we are mentors, we are grandchildren that sometimes have to take care of other people. And so the nice thing about MiMentor is if you space out your work, it's very hard for you to feel overwhelmed, especially Anna referenced that we're a familia. We truly, really are a familia. If someone needs help with an event, we'll reach out to a VP in our region or even in another region. We do a lot of cross-regional collaboration. And so you are never an island. You are always surrounded by people who are willing to help you, and you never have to feel overwhelmed. I know that Taylor had also mentioned in the comments that because MiMentor has been around for a while, there is a structure to things. And so the process of creating an event, is very methodical and is very intuitive. So the way that things are set up is that there are templates for everything, there are guidelines for everything. There's always something to reference. You're never starting from scratch and you're never reinventing the wheel. And I think Jocelyn has a question.
Yes, something that I just want before we jump in, something that I wanted to add. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I was in class doing my flyers. Sometimes I was in class trying not to pay attention to my teacher, and I was like, oh, I have to do an Eventbrite, and I will work on that stuff. Now that I'm outside of school, I graduated already, so I try to do my responsibilities in between my breaks. Sometimes I forget that I had to do something for MiMentor, and I do them like late at night because I'm a night owl. So everything, as long as you fulfill the deadlines, you're good. You can do them on your own free time. You can do them whenever you get that short break, which is a 30-minute might be. Maybe while you're eating lunch, you want to like create your Canva. That's something that you can definitely do. So it's just a matter
Can I
of like,
add something?
yeah.
Okay, really quickly. I agree with what everyone said. I just want to give a few like practical things. One thing I really recommend doing is using Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, whatever platform you're on. What I do at least is when I know I have like a little bubble of time, I'll write in my calendar from 2 to 4, I will do Eventbrite or I will do Canva. I think that's really important to put it on paper so you don't forget. And then second thing is write down the tasks, because like Marlisa said, the process of planning an event is very intuitive. And there are steps that we follow for every event, so like creating Eventbrite, outreaching to speakers, creating the proposal. You'll go through all this in training. So what Central Cal does is we use Trello and we have a checklist to keep track of what step we're on and what steps next and what step we have to get done before launching the event. So I highly recommend if your region doesn't use Trello, at least write down those steps on like Google Tasks or on a piece of paper and then jot them down as you finish it. It's just a way to keep track of your progress. And that's one way to definitely not feel overwhelmed.
Thank you, Sohan. Okay, Jocelyn, what's your question?
Okay, yes. So I was just, it's more out of curiosity. I think given that there had to be a transition to our virtual last year, but before that, I think y'all hosted in person, right? I'm wondering if when it's safe to do so, right? Or there have been conversations about keeping MiMentor all virtual? And I think it kind of also was a little bit of the question that was answered in the chat about like being regional, like living in the region. And yeah, I think I'm just curious if there's like conversations about maybe it being hybrid or just keeping MiMentor all virtual.
Yes, well, we haven't had the conversation, but what we were doing before COVID was that a lot of those events that we noticed were like had like a high demand, like personal statement always has high demand. We will try to do them in person and also virtual via webinar. Mainly because we knew people. For example, my mentor, he lives in the Central Valley, and we did the event in March last year, and it was both in person and online. So he got mentees from Canada and from like the East Coast and all over California, even though he was in the Central Valley. So that's why I think at least for those high demand events, we will definitely do hybrid. I personally love in-person events because it allows students to have that in one-on-one conversation with the speaker. So I definitely look forward to kind of going back to that, to allow for students to, because when it's online, it's like it ends and then everybody goes away. But then when it's in person, you can talk to the speaker, like wait at the end and talk to the person. And we always try to allocate for 2 hours, but we always said at least 20 minutes at the end so that the speaker could like talk to the students and stuff like that. So that's definitely something that at least my team has mentioned that they missed. And we're trying to figure out ways that we can still accommodate for that online, but it's really hard. So, but definitely, I think that's definitely a conversation that we will have. And we will definitely continue doing hybrids, how we would probably better than we were doing it before COVID-19, because now we're all experts on Zoom. Does anybody want to add anything else? I have a few questions on the chat. I've seen them. So don't worry, don't get mad at me. I've seen them. Anyone wants to add something else? No? Am I good to go? Okay, so they were asking about ambassadors. So there is an ambassador position. The difference between being a VP and an ambassador is that as a VP, you have requirements to fulfill, and your ambassador position is a bit more flexible. We still try to make you be more involved because you'll never gain leadership skills if you don't do anything. So we still try to encourage our ambassadors to do more and do events and lead. And if they have any ideas, to share them with us. And if one of our ambassadors, he's on the call, I'm not gonna shout out your name, but he had ideas on TikTok, for example. So I was like, okay, go and talk to the social media team because they're the ones in charge of that. So it's not like, oh, because you're an ambassador, you're not allowed to say that. You're allowed to bring all of your ideas and share. And if it doesn't have to do with my position, I will like redirect you with whoever deals that. But ambassador positions will open later on. Right now, we're only opening the positions for our VPs because we're trying to like make sure that we're training our VPs, and then we'll do the same thing with ambassadors. Previous leadership experience is not necessarily like a requirement, but it can definitely give you an advantage because you'll have experience as how to lead, but it's not a requirement. As long as you have a desire and you know what MiMentor is all about and you have a passion for what we have a passion for, I think you'll be a good fit for our team. There was one question about regions. We definitely had, yes, we had what's it called, ambassadors from different regions. There was one person from New York that tried to join the Central Valley team. And we were super excited to have her, but our biggest concern was like, there's a time zone difference. So if we're having our meetings, like we always, for example, going back to a time commitment, we always do like a doodle poll in making sure that we select our times for like our meetings that fits everybody's or most of our team members schedules. So for example, this year Central Valley is meeting like at 8 p.m. If somebody from the East Coast would have joined, that will be 11 p.m. for them. And it is a requirement to attend. You can miss a few of them, but if you miss them, you kind of miss like a big summary of what we're doing and what's next and things like that. So that's one of the challenges. But you can definitely apply to be an international ambassador or like a national ambassador. And you can, just like Anna did in Georgia, you can start something going on in your state or your city or your country, which will be Puerto Rico in this case. And you can definitely make something happen there. Are there any questions I missed? Or does anyone have any other questions? Yeah, just to reiterate, there will be an application for ambassadors later on. Right now, we need to take care of this one because it's gonna take quite a bit of work. The pipeline position, the main person in charge that knows the most about that position is not here. So we gave you what we know. But we can definitely connect you with the person that knows more about it. I know that the main emphasis is to create connections with pipeline programs or like with community colleges. So if that's something that you're interested on, that's definitely a position to consider. And you can email any of us and we can connect you with a person. You can find us on MiMentor. That's why we're not really sharing emails, because I mean, if you're applying for a position, you should have a profile on MiMentor and you should be able to connect with us. Feel free to write down our names and you'll be able to find us there. Any other questions? The time commitment question, I believe, will be on like a kind of like a question on the application. So I'm glad that you all asked about it. But yeah. Any other questions? Again, feel free to unmute yourself. You can type it on the chat. We have like 30 more minutes to go. So this workshop was made for you all to like learn more about the positions and answer questions. Is there anything I'm missing to add? Marlisa, Alexa, Sohan, Taylor, Victoria, that you would like to mention?
I think Carla has a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Carla. Carla Marie.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to confirm what you mentioned about Puerto Rico. So I can only apply as an ambassador, not to the board. Is that right? Or can I still apply to the board?
Yes, you can only apply to the ambassador position, mainly because what I'm thinking is once we go into in person, it will be more difficult for somebody who's not in the region to join meetings. Also, the time zone conflicts. So I think what we're doing, because we know that MiMentor is growing outside of California tremendously. We are trying to find ways to allow for you to find and gain leadership skills. But the only way to do that would be as an ambassador position. And yes, ambassador position is definitely like a good stepping stone, especially if you're kind of afraid of the time commitment, because as an ambassador, you have like a first-hand exposure to what we do and how we do it. And it also facilitates applying the next year for a VP position. But at the moment, unfortunately, we cannot, we don't really take in applications from somebody who's not from the region.
I'd like to add that as an ambassador, I think what I like best for that position, and I started off as one, is that you have so much flexibility. So with the other roles, the expectations are a little bit more rigid. As an ambassador, you can explore any position that you would like. You can join the social media meetings. You can join general board meetings. Everyone joins the board-wide meetings. But if you're more into social media and you want to see what it would be like to be a VP of engaging content, being an ambassador allows you that wiggle room, whereas the other positions don't. So I don't want you to think of it as like only ambassador, or that position is not as valuable as the other ones, because it definitely is. And I think the flexibility that the ambassador position offers is not offered, to be honest, in any other position, because you're still getting to know what it is that you'd like to do best. And so we're very accommodating in allowing you to explore MiMentor as an organization.
Thank you, Marlisa.
And I just want to clarify for at least for Carla, right? Since she's in Puerto Rico, that ambassador position could turn into like a president, a founding position, right? In Puerto
Yes.
Rico. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of mobility for you if you start out as an ambassador. I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Something that I wanted to mention before is we do get a lot of applications. So I want to definitely emphasize that if you were to apply and you don't get the position, do not feel discouraged to apply again the following year or to apply for an ambassador position. Sadly, MiMentor is growing so much that we get a lot of applications and we only have a certain number of positions. We tried sometimes to provide like an alternative, but we definitely suggest for if we like somebody that we really liked the interview, we liked the application, but we were not able to provide a position, we always try to encourage them to apply again as a ambassador, because that's at least our way as presidents to be like, we really want to keep this person, and encourage them to probably apply the next year. And it's not like if you don't get the position, it's not because you were not good for it. It was just we had a lot of applications and we just have so many like positions open to provide. And just FYI, all of our current VPs, if they want to return, they still have to reapply. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, well, maybe they're gonna take somebody that already was there. Everyone is encouraged to apply and they have to reapply for the current position. So I've been VP for 2 years. I was president for 2 years and I had to reapply for every single one of the positions that I held.
Anna has a question. Her hand was raised first.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, Carla Marie, I can actually like answer you a little bit more since Georgia is closer to Puerto Rico, and also like we have featured like probably like 3 Puerto Rican people. I think on like doctors, like or upcoming event on this Saturday is actually a Puerto Rican doctor. And hopefully for AIM, one of our what's it called? One of our AIM board members that we have suggested for to represent Georgia in the board, it's a Puerto Rican doctor too. So he went to medical school over there in Puerto Rico, and like being an ambassador, especially if you are in Puerto Rico and if you are interested in pursuing medical school or whatever field, whichever field you might be interested into, it's gonna be a great experience for you to start as an ambassador, like the other people, like the other members are telling you to, because you never know like the chances of like creating a program over there or just you joining one of our boards can be great. So never get discouraged. Okay.
Yeah, and definitely even the Central Valley region, it began with an ambassador. So our current CEO, which is like the person that runs all of us presidents, Griselda, she started as an ambassador because she met Dr. Talamantes, one of our founders for MiMentor in LA. And she was like, hey, how can I bring this to the Central Valley? And they told her become an ambassador. She came to the Central Valley Fresno as an ambassador. And she started with friends like, hey, I need you to help me and be like a VP so we can create like a board next year. So that's definitely a way to do it. A question regarding like if you need the leadership position, or if I suggest ambassador, if you don't have any like leadership, I think you should still apply. You might have some definitely good qualities and good skills that even you may not be, probably you were not able, or you didn't have the time to apply them before they're in college, and now you have the time to do it. You can definitely apply for a VP position. If you don't get a VP position, apply for an ambassador position later on. I started with that. I didn't have any leadership because I didn't do clubs or anything at Fresno State. And they told me like, hey, why don't you join MiMentor and gain your leadership? So that's what I did. I think my advice with that is definitely have ideas, because you're gonna be interviewed. So if you don't have the leadership skills to like kind of back them up, which I don't like using that term, but I cannot think of anything better. Definitely have ideas of like what you would like to do with MiMentor, because there's a difference between having somebody who just wants to get the position versus somebody who's passionate and already it's already coming in with like a bunch of ideas, which is what I did when I joined MiMentor. I think somebody else had a question, but it kind of went away.
Yeah, you're actually answering. I was going to ask
Okay.
you, what advice will you give to put on our application? And I think you answered by providing, past experiences with leadership. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no worries.
Elise, were you responding to Jocelyn Perez's question right now?
I don't know. It kind of went away. Sorry. No, I think that was a different question. Now I can answer that one.
Okay.
Do you want to do that, Marlisa?
Yeah, sorry, they kind of melded together. So, if I understand correctly, you want to know, Jocelyn, how you would go up the ranks essentially from one position to another?
I guess I'm just wondering, like, if it's very common to see kind of like that growth from like ambassador to VP to exec, like how common is that? And yeah.
Stefan was an ambassador a year ago. And then I was like, you need to be a VP. And he applied to be a VP. Some of my ambassadors are on the call, and they're on the call because I'm like, you need to be a VP. So they're on the call. So that's pretty common.
It is common. However, I do want to add that for our ambassador in our VP's position, you don't have to have previously been on the board of MiMentor. You do see that board members will stay with MiMentor and they will get higher and higher positions. Number one, that's because MiMentor is amazing and we all want to stay on the board and we don't want to walk away until we make it to our professional goals. But it is also because as you continue your involvement, each position requires a little bit more from you. So if you're an internal president, you have to have served on general board at least 1 year, right? So you don't see fresh faces being internal or external presidents because there's a requirement, which is very understandable, that you be familiar with the organization and with the way things go. Same thing for not these positions, but our chief positions, also a requirement that you have been on board at least a year. So it is very common because everybody loves the organization and we want to stay here. And also because the higher you get, the more you have to understand the nuances of the organization. And so there's just the requirement of having previously been on board for the higher positions. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and then
It does.
it has also happened that I think Southern California had a member who was a VP, and then because of time commitment, she went to an ambassador position because she still wanted to be involved with MiMentor, which is like, I don't have that time to be committed. So you also have that flexibility on that. To your question, Cynthia, I honestly don't think that there's a big learning curve between ambassador and VP because we make you do the work of a VP technically as an ambassador, with the intention that you'll learn every single part. And it's like that's why Sohan said earlier, like there's leads and co-leads. So we always put one VP, at least in the Central Valley, we put one VP and one ambassador, with the intention that the ambassador will have kind of like the VP as a mentor. So you get the experience on how to like do the events and how to reach out to a speaker. That's kind of like I guess like an advantage that we also try to provide to our ambassadors, that we kind of give you the training ahead of time. So whenever you come in as a VP, if you apply for a VP position, you already have the training and you can like get through it faster. Like with my VPs, for example, I also try to encourage them to like kind of move up so we can make space for new members to come in and learn. So that's definitely the way but it's not a big learning curve because we still make you to kind of help you and guide you and encourage you to do more. But we definitely have ambassadors who don't do anything, and it's just like, okay, well, whatever, you're lost. But yeah. But yeah, you do everything, but just with the flexibility of like you get to choose whether you want to do it or not as an ambassador. As a VP, you do have to meet the requirement of, I think it's 2 events per semester. But at the end of the day, you'll have like so many amazing ideas that you end up doing more than 2 events. And like to the point that as a president, I have to like, okay, chill. Like we're just gonna do this many and then we'll leave the other ones for the next semester. So yeah. Any other questions? think I like to answer it, but you don't have to be an ambassador in order to apply for a VP position. Both positions, they're just open to anyone. The only one that has a requirement like that is if you want to move to e-board, like executive board, like presidents and any other higher positions, you have that requirement that Marlisa was talking about. You need to have been in MiMentor for at least 1 year, holding a VP title. And yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us on MiMentor with any questions. Once you apply, once you get your interview, and if you want any help, assistance, feel free to reach out. But yeah. What time is it? Yeah, we still have time if anyone has any other questions. Please take the survey. Just give us some feedback so we know if this is helpful. I mean, this is being recorded and it'll be posted, but we just want to know if this is something that we should be doing in future years as well. Yeah. Good. Okay. Any questions and comments? If not, then I think we can call it a night. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Cecile.
Thank you for answering my questions. I hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Good night. Stop sharing.